Well, welcome and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Mansing. The FBI and the Federal Aviation Administration have teamed up to address the increase in incidents of laser strikes against aircrafts in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. They'll also be working with local law enforcement, but they want the public to be aware of the problem and how dangerous it is for pilots and the public. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
The FBI and the Federal Aviation Administration are stepping up their efforts to curb laser attacks on planes in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. In a statement, FBI officials said they'll be working with federal and local law enforcement to raise awareness about laser strikes against aircraft in the islands. It's not yet an issue that's occurred in the VI.
We don't have any incidents reported on the islands, St. Thomas or St. Croix.
But recent incidents in neighboring Puerto Rico has the FBI on high alert.
We have had some incidents here on the island, on San Juan, especially on the west side of the island. Lately, we have they have reported at least 8 incidents so far.
Lasing an aircraft occurs when people point lasers at a plane or in its flight path. Pilots can experience temporary effects like blindness or loss of night vision, and they can lose the ability to safely fly the plane, putting passengers and the public in danger. Officials say from January to September this year, nearly 2,800 laser strikes were reported nationwide. 95 of those were in Puerto Rico. And since the FAA created the reporting system 8 years ago, the reports have increased from 300 then to nearly 3,600 in 2011.
Sometimes people, they do it because they think just for fun, and they don't know the consequences of it. I mean, people can get hurt when they laze at the pilots.
It's a serious offense that carries stiff penalties of $11,000 per violation with the FAA. It's also a felony offense under Title 18 of the U.S. Code that can carry a fine of up to $250,000 and 5 years in jail. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Officials say if you witness an individual aiming a laser at an aircraft, send an email to laserreports@faa.gov. Well, as we reported on Tuesday, the National Transportation Safety Board released its final report from the investigation of a fatal plane crash near St. Thomas last year. The NTSB ruled pilot error as the cause for the tragic accident that killed 2 people and left 1 presumed dead. The NTSB says that pilot Kirby Hodge may have tried to descend the plane to avoid lowering clouds and hit the water because of a lack of visual cues. Investigators also say there might have been a lack of pre-flight weather planning on the part of Hodge. The Piper Aztec plane was reported overdue on the morning of October 13th. It was carrying 3 passengers plus the pilot. Valerie Thompson was the sole survivor. She told investigators after the plane started to submerge, Hodge pushed her out an exit. She swam towards St. Thomas and tread water for more than 9 hours before rescue teams found and pulled her from the water. Hodge's body was never found. The other 2 passengers, Raquel Hamilton and Darwin Carr's bodies were recovered with the wreck. The West Indian Company is still in the process of upgrading and expanding the pier so that it can withstand erosion and be able to accommodate 3 megaships. WICO is in the 2nd phase of its $10 million pier project and is expecting completion by November. The 2nd phase includes extending the dock about 160 feet and building an additional moor and dolphin to cushion ship impacts. WICO is also in the planning stages to add 2 new berths to St. Thomas Harbor. Police on St. Croix are investigating an incident at State Stony Ground in Frederickstead on September 16th. Police said a resident of the area woke up to find the sunroof of his vehicle shattered by a gunshot. Police were dispatched to the scene about 7:45 a.m. The victim showed police the damages to his vehicle. Police inspected the shattered sunroof and recovered 1 bullet shell casing from the immediate area. The victim said he does not recall hearing any gunshots during the night, and he doesn't know anyone who would want to destroy his property. A 44-year-old St. Thomas man told police that someone fired several shots at him while he was walking on Vestigata. The victim was not injured. The incident happened on September 17th, about 6 a.m. The victim said a man jumped out of a parked car and started shooting at him. The victim began to run and the suspect ran behind him. However, he was able to get away. Police canvassed the area but did not find the suspect. This case is being followed up by the Criminal Investigation Bureau detectives. Meanwhile, 2 persons were injured by gunshots on St. Thomas on September 14th in unrelated incidents. The first shooting involved a 26-year-old man who was bathing his dog outside the residence in Oswald Harris Court housing community. He told police he heard gunshots and saw a man he did not know, dressed in all black with a red hat covering most of his face, firing shots at him. The victim was treated at the Schneider Medical Center for a gunshot wound to his lower left leg. Melody Rains has more on the second incident.
Later that afternoon at about 2:45 p.m., a 22-year-old male victim told police that he was shot in his back by a person he did not know. The shooting happened in the Paul and Pearson Gardens housing community. Police spoke to the victim at the hospital, where he was taken by a concerned citizen in a private vehicle. Witnesses in the housing community told police that there were several shots fired in the area. This case was turned over to the Criminal Investigation Bureau detectives for further investigation.
The Virgin Islands Department of Labor hosted its 2013 Motivational Empowerment and Employment Connection Symposium on the island of St. Croix. The symposium consisted of several presenters who spoke about how to prepare for the changing workforce, how to find a job, and much more. NEWS2's Shaniqua Robinson has details.
Today, the Virgin Islands Department of Labor hosted a Motivational, Empowerment, and Employment Connection Symposium at the University of the Virgin Islands. The symposium was geared towards helping the community with resources in how to find a job, how to prepare for changing workforce, starting their own business, and learning their number one asset.
I put together a presentation that introduced the individual to their number one asset, which is really their attitude, and how important it is for them to present a positive attitude as one of the initial steps in getting employment.
Several presenters were in attendance, including the Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper columnist, social activist, author, motivational speaker, and economics professor at Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, Professor Devin Robinson. Robinson, a native of the United States Virgin Islands, was the keynote speaker of today's event.
The title of my presentation is actually "No One Gets to Choose Your Life," okay, and the importance of taking control of your life. So whether it's trying to advance your career, get stable employment, or endeavoring to entrepreneurship, that's what I'm here to make sure that people get engaged with.
Robinson kept the crowd's full attention during his presentation as he shined light on several issues that tend to get overlooked.
One of the biggest problems that people have isn't learning, it's unlearning. And that's what we're going to talk about, unlearning some of the things that you may have been taught that wasn't the right thing.
Many found the symposium to be helpful, and one attendee in particular is eager to see the results.
The important thing is to put these programs into practice and make them real and bring it to fruition, not just continue talking about them.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
Now, the symposium will take place again tomorrow at UVI St. Croix campus from 9 a.m. to noon, and on St. Thomas on September 20th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the UVI Sports and Fitness Center. Turn our attention stateside as the investigation continues into the shooting at the Washington Navy Yard that left 12 people dead. Family and friends are painting a picture of shooter Aaron Alexis as a troubled person dealing with mental health issues. His mother says she doesn't have any answers about why her 34-year-old son murdered his co-workers. Danielle Nottingham has more from Washington.
The mother of Aaron Alexis is speaking out for the first time since her son opened fire at the Washington Navy Yard. In an audio recording, she told the families of the victims she is sorry and her heart is broken.
And I'll never be able to ask him why. Aaron is now in a place where he can no longer do harm to anyone, and for that I am glad.
The Department of Veterans Affairs says Alexis visited VA emergency rooms twice in August, complaining of insomnia, but never sought an appointment for mental health issues. 6 weeks ago, Rhode Island police say the former Navy reservist called them, complaining he was hearing voices and people were stalking him. Officers contacted the Navy. Alexis, who was working as a defense contractor, kept his security clearance. Officials say the phrases "better off this way" and "my ELF weapon" were carved into the shotgun he took to the Navy Yard. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel ordered a review of how clearances are granted, as well as security procedures at military installations worldwide.
Our people deserve safe and secure workplaces, wherever they are.
2 shooting victims are still in the hospital recovering. One is a D.C. police officer. The other is a woman who was shot in the shoulder, rescued from the rooftop. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, Washington.
And keeping our eye on the economy, Starbucks says guns are no longer welcome in its cafes. The coffee giant's CEO says the move follows the growing frequency of Starbucks Appreciation Days when gun rights advocates bring firearms to Starbucks cafes. The company says it hopes people will abide by the new rule, but says it will still serve customers who bring in guns. Starbucks plans to announce its new policy with ads in major newspapers tomorrow. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 147, Nasdaq 37, S&P 20. Coming up on News 2, Drive for Pledges Day is part of the National Anti-Texting While Driving campaign launched by AT&T in 2009. The initiative has become a movement with Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and 200-plus other organizations joining the cause in May of this year, urging drivers nationwide to stop texting behind the wheel on September 19th. Details coming up. Well, in an effort to provide high school students with clearer paths to healthy professions, Rotary E Club of the Virgin Islands and the Virgin Islands Caribbean have teamed up with VI Scholars to launch the Envision Your Life Conference this Thursday, September 19th. Students at Ivana Udarakan and Friday, the 20th, at CAHS Auditorium, and both at 8:30. The VI Department of Education endorsed Envision Your Life Conference. It begins with inspirational speeches from community leaders such as Professor Michael Tubbs, a Truman Scholar and one of the youngest elected officials in the United States, Commissioner Albert Bryant Jr., and VI Scholars Director Rotarian Lincoln Liebert, a native son of the Virgin Islands and charter member of Rotary E. After inspiring speeches, Gregory Hirschman, author of Peak Approach, The Peak Approach, will lead empowerment workshops. Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen will join her Congressional Black Caucus colleagues this week at their 43rd Annual Legislative Conference in our nation's capital, where she will lead presentations and panel discussions on health equity and the Affordable Care Act on Friday, September 20th. The CBC Health Brain Trust will convene the day-long event titled Achieving Health Equity After the Affordable Care Act, Stories of Success, Lessons Learned, and Current Challenges. That will be at the Washington Convention Center beginning at 9 a.m. A special morning presentation will focus on the role of the African American healthcare providers, who will discuss the successes and challenges they have experienced since the passage and enactment of the Affordable Care Act. Well, a grand opening and celebration is taking place on Saturday for the new waterfront location of Innovative Wireless, and that's from 1 to 5 p.m. You can go in and learn all about the latest devices. There will be light refreshments, entertainment by DJ Cypher, Mukajumbis, and special appearances by the Evo Man. There will also be a one-day-only sale. Again, that's on Saturday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Well, September 19th is National Drive for Pledges Day, a campaign launched by AT&T since 2009 as part of their anti-texting while driving campaign. AT&T is urging drivers nationwide to stop texting behind the wheel and to encourage others in their community to do the same. To increase awareness around this dangerous habit, the company is holding a texting and driving simulator event at its St. Thomas corporate retail store on September 19th. At the event, employees will encourage customers to take the pledge to never text and drive and to try out the AT&T wheel and pedal simulator to experience firsthand what can happen when you text behind the wheel. Well, into your health, a new blood test may one day be able to tell whether an infection is bacterial or viral. It's important because it may help cut down on the overprescription of antibiotics, which has led to bacteria-resistant superbugs. Vanita Nair reports from New York.
Medicine have developed a test that could drastically cut down on the overprescription of antibiotics. Using a blood sample, they can tell whether a person's respiratory illness is viral or bacterial.
9 times out of 10, this test could tell you if a patient truly had a viral infection or if they did not.
While bacterial infections can be treated with antibiotics, viral infections like a cold cannot. The two kinds of illnesses are hard to distinguish, so Dr. Amy Sauce's team focused on how the body's immune system reacts.
This particular test looks at how the body's white blood cells respond to infection and actually looks for genes that are relatively specific to viral infection.
Using antibiotics when you don't need them is a big problem because the bacteria builds up a resistance to the drug. The CDC says last year, 23,000 Americans died from resistant bacterial infections. The Duke blood test still has to undergo more study, and researchers want to make it faster. Right now, it takes 12 hours to get results. Doctors say it needs to be under an hour to be useful. Vanita Nair, CBS News, New York.
Well, be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.